Previously on Elysia Rising.
Halt! Who goes there? The figure sort of like turns to look at these two that are kind of mid-lunge, and they drop. So they're going to drop into defensive positions, and the hired muscle is going to shout that intruders, like the enemy, is here. In the gloom around the sides of the building, you start to see small flecks of reflective red light.
Uh-oh.
I'm probably actually going to use the fire bellows.
There's this gout of flame that explodes outwards, and carpets like a good half of the swarm, wrapped in spiked chains, surrounded by rotating concentric rings, is a large crystalline structure. You recognise the woman encased in this crystalline chunk as Turia Valimar. And Nephinae, her voice echoing off the walls of this place, says, "It's good of you to join us, Algernon. Though I only remember the invite being for one. A shame," she says. And in a uniform, the Blackguard turn and raise their halberds to look at the four of you.
Welcome to Elysia, the jewel of the north. On our gilded streets, fortune and fame can be found by anyone.
Hi, I'm Julia, and I'm playing Magpie, an ace of our lurk.
Hi, I'm Nate, and I'm playing Cavern, a dragon-scent slide.
Hi, I'm Meg. I'm playing Frida, a wolfkin cutter.
Hi, I'm JC, and I'll be playing Algernon, an Asavar spider.
Hello, I'm Errol. I am playing Atta, a goblin whisperer.
And my name is DM Dan. I will be the games master on this adventure.
So come on in and marvel at our wonders. Make sure you see the beautiful views we have to offer, and don't mind the ghosts. They're friendly, really. Grab yourselves a seat and make yourselves welcome in the city of Elysia.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Explorers of Elsewhere's Elysia Rising campaign, where we are about to begin the final part of the final episode of the campaign.
Oh boy.
Oh boy!
It's gonna go fine.
Okay, fine.
The five of you have made it into the curious, the alien origined prison complex building that houses the former regentess of the city, Turia Valimar, and arrayed between, aligned with her are the Lodge Reticent, Nephinae, and somewhat worryingly, the Blackguard. You've also discovered that Turia, the verminous rat swarm is resurgent once again and are coming back for seconds. And yeah, we can acknowledge at this point that pretty much this is it. This confrontation will, decide the fate of Elysia. Who wants to jump in? I will take that as a resounding yes.
Don't jump in. We can't all die.
Big brain.
If only it worked like that. So, we have a number of clocks in play at the moment. Overcome Turia's swarm is a 6 clock. Defeat the Blackguard is a new 8 clock. We also have, we also know that there are some other things kind of happening in the room, but the most pressing matters at the moment are the swarm and the Blackguard. So, we will. Who wants to step up to the plate first? Algernon, Magpie, Songbird, and Frida are inside the prison cell itself. This large kind of 40-ish foot wide hexagonal building made of this kind of glossy white marble-like stone. The walls and pillars are inscribed with these alien runes of indecipherable origin. Cavern, Velka, and the kindling marionettes, along with Atta, are outside, just outside the front door. The sounds of the swarms, converging on your location, growing louder by the moment. But as the staccato rhythm of the Blackguard marching towards you, halberds drawn, glowing red gemstone eyes looking at you, the four of you, as they march towards you, who's stepping up to the bat first?
Oh boy, I guess Frida's going to sort of draw the bloodletting blade and sort of get between the nearest Blackguard and Algernon and just be there defensive ready. But I guess at the moment she's just kind of looking around to see where she can sort of who to go for first, where the first threat's gonna come in.
So the Blackguard are kind of encroaching on position, and they're in a somewhat enveloping motion. So whereas you're stood at the southern kind of wall of this hexagonal building, this hexagonal space, they're kind of wrapping rounds to pen you in. You can hear kind of the panic cries from the Lodge Reticent nobles who are just kind of stood underneath this floating Turia, who's floating in the centre of the room about 20 feet off the ground, encased in this red heart-shaped crystalline growth structure that seems to be kind of emitting from her, whilst Nephinae watches from a walkway just to the right, just to the east of her stepmother.
And over my shoulder I'm just Algie, if you've got any bright ideas right now.
Algernon, you also, from your position as you started to kind of go around the side, you have spied your long-lost sister, Devira Cadwallader, suspended also approximately 20 feet above the ground. And she seems to be in this sort of trance-like state, her mouth moving frenetically as if she's chanting something. And in unison with her chants, this power is thrumming out of Tyria. And the bursts of energy are kind of growing quicker and quicker, increasing in frequency, whilst a stream of mana, presumably from the ghosts being conjured by the Ilnashi, descends down from a hole in the top of this hexagonal building into a cracked hole into Tyria.
I look up at Nephinae, take my rat mask off. Well, I was rather hoping it would just be the two of us escaping in your little ark.
She kind of, you see her laugh, and she laughs and then looks to you, flicks the hair out of her face, and "Be careful what you wish for, Algernon," she says. And she turns and sort of holds a hand up towards her stepmother, cocooned in this crystalline shell. And you see her crystalline arm begin to glow as she starts incanting something towards her stepmother.
Okay, I would like to flash back, please.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some point after our heist at Castle Antalya, but before we were thrown in Bell Tower, we received the House Antalya Crown of Authority.
Yes.
With its 3 gems, one of which was a big ruby, and it had 2 smaller ones, opals or something. And I'd like to flash back to Atta's workshop at the manor,
Mm-hmm.
where we are both tinkering with this crown and examining the gems.
Very good prep work.
Okay.
It seems like House Antelia might have something to do with this. After all, Lady Nephinae's recent reappearance. It's interesting she wanted the cube from her ancestral home and not the crown, don't you think, Ata?
I mean, I wouldn't know what she's got planned, but yeah, this is pretty powerful. It's a big focus. I think that's what Atta found out. This gem is a really big arcane focus, but maybe it didn't do what the cube did. I guess it's different somehow.
Well, the Crown of Authority must have a similar focus. Perhaps we could reverse engineer. What's the reverse of authority?
Liberty.
Yeah, I was gonna say subservience. I feel like this is one of your crossword puzzles, Algernon.
The opposite of authority, anarchy? Almost?
Perhaps, maybe if there's some sort of manner. I'm not one for really understanding the ways of the arcane, like you are, Atta, but if you could perhaps reverse whatever magic energy is in this gemstone, if House Antler ever want it back, we could maybe have a trick up our sleeve.
I trust you, Algernon. I'll do my best to work backwards.
Okay. Okay.
What do you want me to do then?
I will let you, dealer's choice as to which ability would you like to use to so it sounds like you're almost like trying to reverse the polarity of this thing almost. Okay. So yeah, Atta, what would you like to use in order to do such a thing?
I mean, I was going to say attune because I've got more in attune, but I'm still soul fatigued, which means that
So you would only take less effect from that.
So that would still be 3 dice, but it would be...
You'd start on So in this moment, because... Well, I'll start you on a risky standard.
Okay.
So the soul fatigue would then move you to risky lesser to begin with.
So, risky limited stuff.
Yeah, risky limited, yeah.
Okay.
And then by all means in this flashback... So I will say that this is the Halo list of the Marys. So I'm going to say... I might have to say something this bolshy. How's 3 stress sound for this flashback?
For Atta?
No, for
okay.
Ooh, it's girthy.
That's a lot of stress.
It's a lot of stress, but it's... Well, this is the biggest of the plans, and this was a big brainer all the way from episode 11. So, 3 stress for this to happen. Would you like to, Algernon, would you like to help Atta in this endeavour?
I would, and I'd like... Is it possible to use my foresight ability to do that?
Yes. Because you still had a supply, so you might have been able to see to this point. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you help for free. So Atta, you've got either extra effect or extra dice.
Well, extra effect would take it to standard.
Yeah, risk standard.
And then if I push myself... Can I push myself in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, then I'm fucked.
Oh boy, that's risky.
Well, but it can't just be a standard effect.
So does that take you up to 8 of 9?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so that would be great effect, but still 3 dice, or I could have standard effect and roll 4.
I would say standard.
You can always switch to Desperate Great for free.
What does Desperate do?
Harsher consequences.
Harsher consequences, greater outcomes, better outcomes.
So I'd get 4 dice to roll.
Yeah.
Desperate great.
I'm desperate, great. Why not?
Do
dice should I
They're
do?
going for it.
Okay, with this time.
Regardless of what
Right.
the energies released are more chaotic than you could have ever anticipated.
Come on.
That's the easiest I've
So,
ever
is
faced.
this a 5 dice
Yeah,
desperate great
come
attune?
it is. I don't
Okay.
think I can look at the dice if I'm rolling those.
I'll be
Roll them bones.
Please don't. Please.
Oh yeah, there
Is
is.
it 1-6?
There's a
1,
6,
6,
there's a
2
5,
fives.
2 5s.
1-6. That is a success.
Well done.
Good job.
Thanks. Fantastic.
And
Chaotic.
Chaotic.
as you, so that is 3 segments on a clock off the back of a greater success. So
Can we flash forward from
Yeah.
there to our escapade underneath Bell Tower? I'm looking down at the swarm of rats. It's forming the face of Lady Antelia,
yes,
and I have the ruby gemstone, the crown of authority. I see what authority gets you, and I toss it in.
and as the swarm opened up and enveloped this gem, it formed into a hand to ensnare the gem and kind of drag it down into the depths. We flash back to the present, and you notice that the crown of authority has been, for all intents and purposes, embedded in the forehead of Lady Turia.
I was going to give her a headache.
Can I say we've made some sort of gizmo with the 2 other smaller gems,
Yeah.
like a sort of flint that clicks together to reverse it?
Yes, okay. In which case, yes, Nephinae has turned to like hold her hand out to begin. Fundamentally, it looks as if she's almost using Turia as like an arcane focus. And as the spell as her spell begins, and the gem illuminates, as you've kind of, I'm almost imagining the 2 opals as they kind of connect and then slide together. That reverses like the polarity of sorts. And you watch as Turia's like one exposed eye illuminates as she goes to cast a spell, presumably to kind of take control of the swarm directly. And suddenly, like, the gem in her forehead cracks, as there's a sudden feedback loop that's caused by your apparatus. And Turia like screams as much as she can with crystallized lungs. And the 2 of you outside Atta and Cavern, as the rats surge and they form almost like a tide, or a tidal wall as tall as you all. You feel this kind of resonant boom emit from inside the chamber behind you, and as it ripples out through the wall, it washes over the swarm, and like it blows them away as if they've been, as if a tsunami has crashed into them. And as the rats kind of scatter, you see them all sort of like the glowing eyes all begin to flicker out to normal rat eyes, as they all start to like fall apart from one another, and it seems as if Turia has now lost control of the swarm. The rats have reverted back to basic natural instinct, and while some of them are still kind of looking in your direction, Turia has no longer got control of it as a hive mind. And like Nephinae pulls her hand back as if she looks at her hand as if she's done something wrong, and then as she hears her stepmother scream, and Algernon, you kind of through the din, you also hear Devira scream at the same frequency as Turia. Nephinae then looks to you and "No!" she shouts and screams as she watches as the crystal cracks and then shatters outwards, and shards of red ruby kind of tinker to the stone below. Yeah, that'll do. So, at the sound of that, like the blackguards stop and sort of like they glance over their shoulders to see what's happened, and those of you, well, all of you, feel as if suddenly there's a slight change in the momentum. Who wants to start the assault?
Go on then. Go on then. In that moment where like the blackguards are distracted, I'm just gonna like get the like bloodletting blade and just try and like essentially jam it upwards like between the plates and just go for it.
So bear in mind the blackguard are still a tier 6 faction. So I like, if you're going mano a mano, that will start you on a 0 effect. If anyone wants to join in, if you want to start tag teaming, that will help. Because getting help could at the very least take you up to lesser.
Chug a little rage essence.
You could chug a little rage essence.
Can you remind me what they do? Because usually I have to look it up every single time.
Not to worry. A rage essence, it greatly enhances your strength, resistance to pain, and irrational aggression for the span of several minutes.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what we need right now.
What does that translate to in terms of like mechanics?
We will see.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm pulling the cork out and then chugging it back.
Okay. So, yeah, those of you watch as Frida Nexus vial of rage essence, you find yourself sort of like stooping over as this burning sensation rips down your gullet towards your gut, and you feel the heat begin to sort of like swell out from your center mass into your arms, into your legs, and they just feel bigger. And you watch as Frida hunches a bit more, and then you emerge slightly more bestial in nature.
Could I combine that with my not to be trifled with, and could I actually try picking up a blackguard and throwing it into another one?
Okay. Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Why not?
Absolutely. Okay. So, how are you? What ability are you using, Frida?
I am using not to be trifled with. You can push yourself to do one of the following: perform a feat of physical force that verges on the superhuman, engage a small gang on equal footing. I don't think the small gang's gonna like count for shit, but perform a feat of physical force bordering on superhuman.
Yeah, so if you're fighting with the strength of multiple people, that will certainly help. Are you skirmishing, wrecking?
I am skirmishing.
Skirmishing.
Yeah, I'm skirmishing. I'm putting all my dice in this one.
Okay, right, so we start on 3. I'm going to start you on a... because the tide has turned somewhat, I'm going to start you on a risky 0 effect.
Okay.
So, not to be trifled with, you fight with the strength of multiple people, so that will increase your effect for all intents and purposes.
Okay.
So we start you on a risky lesser. The rage essence, I will. The rage essence, if you're using it with skirmish, I would say you get an extra effect.
Okay.
Because you're going that much more batshit. If you end up wanting to use it with wreck, I will let you add an extra dice if you're using it with wreck, because that is sheer savage force, which...
No, I'll do skirmish and an extra effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that will then push you to risky standard, the rage essence, and not to be trifled with.
Sure. I've got to push myself, so that's 2 stress, isn't
So
it?
you're on 7 of 9.
It's fine.
You also then you're still pushing yourself, so you also get an extra dice or an extra effect as well. So I say you're now at risky standard. You can swap that to desperate great for free.
Yeah. Okay.
It's desperate can go real badly wrong.
Or you can move to a
Desperate
4
great.
dice.
That would just mean like probably some real bad harm, right?
Really bad harm.
Yeah, but I do have armor, so that would lessen the effect of harm. fuck it, desperate great. And put an extra dice in for the...
So that's a 4 dice desperate great against the Blackguard.
Yay! Oh no.
The 4 is a partial success.
Oh, that's okay. There is a 4.
Okay.
There's a 4.
There is a 4. Right, so defeat the Blackguard. A desperate great will be 3 segments. Okay, so Frida, as you drink this potion and as you you rage out faster than any of you have seen it, as Frida bolts towards a Blackguard, before they get a chance to swing the halberd, you've grabbed the collar gorget and the belt and lifted this 300-pound fully armoured figure above your head, and with a launch, the Blackguard goes hurtling into the next other Blackguard, sending the 2 of them sprawling to the ground. And whilst all of you are, I don't know, are you happy, horrified, of what's happening?
Turned on.
Pretty happy.
You then, however, notice that the Blackguard, the 2 Blackguard are able, the standing Blackguard are able to effectively fill in the gap much more quickly than you anticipated. So I'm going to say a reduced effect, so 2 segments, unless you want to resist, in which case we'll ignore that.
Oh. I don't know, have other people got stuff up their sleeve, or should I try and resist? What do people think?
You're on very low stress.
Yeah, you're very low. I think you need to conserve.
Don't resist. Two's good.
Yeah, okay, let's do it. We've made a dent.
Okay, so the 2 Blackguard clatter out of line, but then with staccato, other Blackguard teleport in to fill their spaces, and they carry on moving towards you. As Frida's kind of launched herself forward from the rest of you, who's following up?
Guess I might try something.
Yeah? Yeah.
I feel like...
You can also, bear in mind, you can also call for help, and Songbird is available.
Oh, well, obviously, yeah. Do the cowabunga or whatever the signal was.
I think, just the screaming, cowabunga! Apparently that's what we're doing now.
I feel like I would hope that whatever I do now, there's been enough ruckus that the others, the backup is probably flying in.
I think it'd be more for Frida, it'd be like, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough.
Well, yes, those of you outside, Cavern, Atta, Velka, the marionettes, the kindling, you've definitely heard that combat has been joined.
Yes.
Magpie, if you wanted to have had Atta palm you the alchemist's fire, that's still something you could potentially use if you'd like to finessely aim it well.
Finessely aim some alchemist fire at a little cluster of Blackguard, keep them busy with some being on fire.
Yeah. I mean, I will also say to Atta that whilst the swarm is no longer under control, they are still hungry and they are still present.
Might want to have kept that.
I do have an idea for the rats.
Yeah, you want to go for it?
Let
Okay.
Magpie go first.
In that case, if I don't have the alchemist fire, then I guess I was gonna try a thing where I was gonna try and sneak up on a Blackguard who looks a bit busy and try and leap up onto his back and rip his goggles off and see if that does anything.
Yeah, no.
Assuming that's how they see. So if you can't see, that might be.
Is anyone helping Magpie, and or are you? So you can request help from Songbird or Velka, and then depending on circumstances, they may say yes or no.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to decide which one I want help from. Would he be more distracted if Songbird got in his face, or if he was on fire? If he's on fire, I might not want to be on him.
Yeah, the eternal question. Yeah. Songbird?
Yeah.
Okay.
A bit safer.
Songbird. So this will be the second time she's helped out.
Yeah.
So you'll get an extra dice from her.
Is it a prowl?
If you're kind of sneaking up, because prowl's like Prowl also covers misdirect and the like. So you traverse skillfully and quietly. I mean, yeah, Prowl, I could even argue skirmish or finesse.
Skirmish. I've got three pips. No use.
No hood. No hood.
Okay. I guess it is probably time to start pushing, right? Because, okay, so if I push for lesser effect...
Yeah, so we start you on risky lesser as well. Sorry, risky
none.
0. Risky
so
0.
if I push for lesser effect and then I infallible for standard,
Yep,
use
that
my
works.
special armor.
That works.
Okay.
So if you push...
So now it's a 3 dice.
So-
Risky or desperate standard. What is it?
So pushing takes you to 7 of 9 stress.
Yeah.
You
The sexiest Star Wars
so you push up
character.
to risky lesser. You can use infallible in your special armor to take you up to risky standard.
Yes.
So it's a 3 dice. You can switch to desperate great for free.
I don't want to die right now. I'll die in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So 3 dice.
I'll die later.
3 dice
I can do
risky
useful
standard,
if I live
and then
now.
are you taking? So Songbird, is she giving you an extra dice or an extra effect? And she will also be implicit in any consequences off the back of this.
Extra die.
Extra dice.
I hate desperate consequences. I'm really scared of them.
Okay, so a 4 dice.
4 dice, risky standard.
Risky standard.
Okay, I'm trying to do goggles off. Oh, 6. Oh.
2 sixes.
2 6. Crit! It's crit.
So a double 6, a crit.
Yay!
Nice.
Okay, nice. So, you. So off a crit adds an extra segment, so that instead of 2 segments for standard will take you up to 3 segments. So, as you and Songbird, still fresh from her recent chastising from Algernon, the two of you like swoop in on one of the Blackguard, and as the halberd swings, the two of you both sort of like duck and dive out the way, so the halberd just misses you. You have to calculate it that you have to get close enough to the blade that you're then inside the Blackguard's reach, in so much and that Songbird goes low and with a swift stab slides her punch dagger in between the plates around the kneecap, and you hear a grunt as the blade pierces into the Blackguard's leg, and you're able to then come up and kind of grab onto the arm and swing onto the back, using the cloak to sort of like get a bit of purchase. And how are you? What are you using to prise the eyes out of? Or are you like smashing them? Or
Probably my dagger. I've got a rapier and I've got a dagger.
Ooh, shuck it like an
I'm
oyster.
gonna shuck it like an oyster.
okay, so in which case, yeah, as you come around and you have to kind of use your legs to kind of grip round the ribs. 2 blades go into the sides of the goggles, and with a hefty, like a wrench, these 2 gems crack and fly out and kind of collide with each other in midair, just in front of the face. And the Blackguard roars in pain as if you just plucked out their actual eyes. And as they stagger around, those of you who are stood in front of the Blackguard can see inside the mask, and you just see these sewed up eyes that. And there's nothing, they're hollow, they're sunken, there's nothing between, nothing behind the sewn skin. And the Blackguard kind of stumbles around, swinging wildly. And as the two of you disentangle and kind of roll away, the Blackguard sweeps and clashes the halberd into the Blackguard next to them, taking the 2 of them out of the fight. That is 3 segments on the clock, that's 5 of 8 to defeat the Blackguard.
Oh boy.
Great.
let's throw it out to those of you outside. What's Cavern and or Atta doing?
After hearing the scream, like the two screams go in there and the whatever you're shouting as well. Cavern, they've got this. I'd like to do a flashback.
Okay.
Yeah. Cavern has gone on the prowl for some trance powder, but has not been able to find any. It seems the stash of it is limited at the moment.
Okay.
He's heard news that someone might be able to make him something else. He's going to go talk to Lorenzo.
Lorenzo!
Okay.
Lorenzo!
So this is before the B team.
This is before the B team. He has heard of Lorenzo's, he's had a quick chat with Devarien. He's heard of Lorenzo's plan, and he's gone quickly to Lorenzo and asked if he's got maybe some extra paralyzing powder that he can borrow.
So yeah, you find Lorenzo in the little apothecary at the back of the Spectre lair. And yeah, as you enter, what is it? He says as you enter. He looks to you and you know, it takes me a long time to create all of this poison, he says. He is happy to try and synthesize some more for you. Are you happy for him to? Yeah, he's gonna. So basically, he's gonna make his standard apothecary roll. I'll let you roll this. So Lorenzo is now a tier 3 apothecary.
Nice.
So that's a 3 dice fortune roll. Four. Okay. So.
Very Lorenzo.
Very
Fucking Lorenzo. I think he might be worth them fiends, you know.
Okay, so he is able to. Cavern watches horrified, I assume, as Lorenzo sighs and then sits down on the little kind of medical bed chair thing that he has in the centre of his apothecary, and then he places his hands, he rolls his sleeves up. Sorry, he rolls his sleeves up and then places his hands on his knees, and he closes his eyes, and he looks like he's in a very kind of zen centre space, and then you see him clenching on his back teeth, and he starts vibrating as he starts.
Are you going to shit yourself?
And you watch as from his lower arms, it's almost as if they've become clammy and sweaty, as he just seems to secrete this liquid, this clear liquid from his pores.
Oh God!
Because horrifyingly, that's what it turns out he can do.
Hang on, was this established in B team?
Yeah.
Like Lorenzo can secrete roofies?
Yeah. I decided that.
Okay.
So
Am I just gonna move this way?
And his dark brown skin flushes red as he, and it kind of looks like he's about to shit himself.
Wow.
But when he,
is that the complication? He just shits himself.
And then as he stops and he gets a little kind of vial and starts scraping this slimy secretion off his forearms and wiping it into a vial, and then as he hands it to you, it's not particularly full. He tells you, "Be careful with this." And as he hands,
grab his.
as he rolls his sleeves back down and kind of rebuttons the collars, and he looks at the small. It's about half vial, and I am very tired. He says, as he hands this to you.
Fine, it happens to the best of us.
So yes, you've got it, but not as much as you might have hoped.
Okay.
I will ask for 1 stress for that.
Okay.
So I believe that takes you to 2, to 3.
To 3.
To 3.
I
okay.
like to think that's how Lorenzo then decides to make much more for the other things that happen in B team.
He's tucking out from all of the B team stuff. Okay, so the Cavern's up on 3 stress. What are you doing with this?
I would like to decant it into the bellows and try and whoosh it over the rats.
Okay.
With finesse, if I can.
With
So
finesse.
you're turning the flamethrower into a roofie
Yeah.
thrower.
It's got no more energy, gotta do something.
Okay, so what we'll say is, because it's not a full dose, I will start you on a risky lesser.
Right. In that case, I will. Velka will probably do his own roll if Velka was going to help us.
Velka might just, yeah. Well, you've noticed that the wrist-mounted flamers are seeming to tuck it out. But yeah, if you want Velka to help you, he absolutely can.
Yeah, if Velka can help me in a way.
Okay, in which case, the pipes that lead down to his wrists that you saw him kind of expunging flame with earlier, as he sees what you're doing, he unplugs one of the pipes on his torso, and you hear a hissing coming from it, and he effectively kind of jabs it into the back of the bellows to give it more pressure. So he'll be able to bump you up, dice or effect, whichever you'd rather.
I will take that.
Yep.
I will then push myself. So I'll go for a standard effect.
Mm-hmm.
And then an extra dice as well, so it'll be 3 dice.
Okay. Standard effect, 3 dice. Roll them bones.
6.
Oh, there's a 6.
On the tiny die.
On the tiny dice.
And just are you pointing this at the rattos?
Pointing it definitely at the rattos that seem a little bit more interested in us.
Okay. In which case, so off
And
the
they
back.
just go.
You know how they've got fainting goats? It's just
Okay. So there's still some sort of a modicum of oily liquid from the flame from earlier, but mixed with the higher pressure from Velka's suit. Lorenzo's secreted paralysis poison mists out, and off a success, that is 2 segments. So the swarm is on 5 of 6. It is almost completed. So yeah, just a bunch of the rats just effectively fainting goat over. The swarm is greatly diminished. Atta, is there anything you want to box off with?
I mean, the only thing that I feel like I want to do, I've not got a lot of stress left. I've got 0 stress left, actually. But I still feel like I would like to try and study these runes and see whether anything can be done to the runes to help us.
Okay.
Because that's still a 3 dice for me, because I've got a high study.
Yes.
But I won't do anything extra to it. So I can just roll a 3.
Okay,
Maybe
so
it'll help.
Can I assist you with foresight? My second foresight.
You absolutely can. Okay, so in this moment, I will start you on a risky lesser.
Okay.
So primarily because it's just so
Overwhelming.
there's a lot happening. Yes.
This isn't necessarily for the swarm, though. It's just to study the.
Oh yeah, of
the
course.
temple.
Sorry.
Yeah. Should I take the extra dice? Or should I take an extra? Can foresight only do an extra dice, or can it do it?
It's an assist.
Oh, let's do an effect.
Okay, so risky standard.
Unless you'd like to give me a devil's bargain and of some description.
Regardless of what happens, the remaining swarm catches you.
I want
Catches
that.
up with the group.
Oh, not the group.
With the group.
If it was just me.
They will swarm Velka.
No! I do.
So devil's bargain, regardless of what happens, Velka gets swarmed.
Velka. Oh no, I can't let Velka.
We don't want Velka to get
No, he's right next to me.
He's not.
He's
right next to Cameron. I like Cameron.
There's not enough that there'll be instant devouring like with Lucragi, but
some
there will be
nibbling.
many nibbles.
Just a light nibbling,
He's very jerky-like. hence why I'm
Smoked.
Yeah.
Yum,
Oh,
yum, yum.
fine, I'll take the pie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'll
it'll
be
be fine.
fine.
Very welcome to the bus.
Oh, it'll definitely be fine.
I
Is it
crit
crit?
it.
Oh, it's a crit.
Yay.
Ooh. Thanks for the
Okay.
extra dice.
As you turn around and like you're looking. I'm imagining that there's all this scrapping, and then Atta's like, oh, looking at the side of the building.
She's really tired. She's very stressed. She's like, I'll just study for a bit.
So, as you look at these rooms, like they look kind of alien, they look kind of incomprehensible, but like as you stare at them for a while, you start to see what you can only describe as like linguistic patterns, such as they are. And it looks like the same kind of common tongue that you and all Elysians have, like, it's like it's common for all intents and purposes. But it's a really old, archaic form. You've never seen, sentence or word structures like this, but it's clear that there is some form of connection with your modern, like your current scripts and language. But this just seems old, ancient, even. And it's so for all intents and purposes, it would be like if we saw a script in Latin. Like we kind of know it's the language that we share and we derive from, but yeah. And like, but you pick out enough points that you realise that these are runes of, like, there's an abjuration style kind of thrum that comes from them. And it seems like these are fundamentally anti-magic runes. Anti-arcane magic runes. And then you acknowledge they're on the outside, but even as you peer in, you can, like, perhaps this structure is designed to imprison arcane magic users. But the rise of arcane is nowhere near as old as this building would make you believe. Whoever built this structure once upon a time also lived in a world of arcane magic. But that was a gift from a Khan. Significantly closer to the present day than the building is on.
Nata's just there studying while Cameron's like spraying these rats with paralytic poison.
Atta, like Cavern, you can only help but glance over your shoulder as Atta, presumably, like you are stunned by this dissonance in chronology. Like, that this building is designed to stop a force that theoretically happened centuries, millennia after this building. Like the age of the text would imply.
Okay. Don't know what to do with this yet.
I suspect you do.
And in the background, Velka just stops thrashing and screaming
Covered in rats.
as you're like,
But yeah, as this happens, Cavern, like you'll glance over your shoulder at Atta, but then in your moment of like distraction, you turn back to see like these ravenous rats kind of swarming towards you, and as they begin like surging towards your feet, Velka breaks away from the bellows, like pulls the pipe out that it was pressurizing, and even as the pipe kind of flicks around like an angry snake as it hisses, he kind of wades in to sort of like sweep kick a load of the rats away, and then sort of like leans down and begins sort of like scratching and slashing with the claws on his gauntlets, but you watch as he staggers as a number of rats begin climbing up, and like gnawing at some of the pipes, and you can visibly see like pressurized gas kind of emerging from his suit as he roars, as he starts thrashing around as they scale up his right leg and up his torso.
I would like to use Emergent Divinity to try and blast the rats out of his suit.
Okay. Okay. Which ability would you like to use in inverted commas?
I don't know. I guess it would be...
An attune?
Yeah, I guess it would be an attune. To sort of... Yeah, to... While he's sort of thrashing around, I'm going to go... I don't do this often. No, really, I don't do this often. And he's going to jam his hands in the closest thing that he can find to try and get under his suit.
Okay.
And just then use Emergent Divinity to just try and sort of kind of push the rats out and away some sort of way.
In which case, yeah, as Velka thrashes and you're like, I don't know. As you jump forward, your claws. So as you lean forward and your claws kind of impact with his, where his kidneys are, your claws do pierce through the suit, and as your scales turn into that bright blue glow from whenever you your divinity emerges, Asa, you turn just in time to see Cavern explode into this supernova of blue-white light. A cone of divine energy explodes out from your kind of expanded hands, and Asa, you also watch as what look like energy is also emerging backwards out of Cavern, and it almost looks angelically winged for a moment as this light kind of tears out of him. But the rats kind of screech and skitter, and they are blown off of Velka. They're thrown away, and the light illuminates the cavern to a point where, Atta, you have to close your eyes for a moment. And as your divinity, it surges for a moment, and then as it begins to peter out, and the room you turn back to your normal grey scales, and the room returns to a normal light. The rats that remain begin scampering off and skittering away back into dark corners, terrified by this explosion of divinity and light. And regardless of what effect level that was, you will get at least one segment as the swarm is shattered by you. And as you kind of catch your breath, Velka turns to you, the wheezing of his apparatus, and he looks to you and he looks like he's heavily breathing, and thank you, he says as he kind of pulls himself off of your claws. But you see that from the 4 holes where your fingers pierce through, there is this dark, oily liquid that's seeping out, and it looks like baddened blood. And he turns to regard the two of you and let's go, he says as he begins limping in to the...
Are you sure about this? You can stand outside?
He flicks a look to you, and even though he's got his goggles and his mask on, you've seen the face underneath, and you kind of just get the impression of the look of determination he gives you as he stubbornly, through the pain, staggers into the hexagonal room. The swarm has been overcome. Back in the room as Velka, Cavern, and Atta emerge. So, Magpie, you've just kind of tag team one of the Blackguards with Songbird. Frida, you've just launched another Blackguard into another. What's Algernon doing?
I was wondering if there's any evidence in this room of the the shroud machinery that we know that the lodge has stolen. It's obviously being used up above.
Yes.
To funnel down here, but is there anything down here on the receiving end?
So you, as you're looking around, you kind of get the impression that the chains that surround Turia's like crystalline form, they look like they're part of the architecture. But the spinning kind of astrolabe concentric rings that are rotating around her, that looks out of place. So you wonder if, and you know, the stream of kind of ghost energy from above seems to be feeding into those rings, and it's then kind of dispersing it around, flickering across various arcane runes, and kind of bouncing down into her, and like with every pulse of ghost mana into her, like the red crystal around her thrums with more energy. So you suspect that this spinning apparatus around her is the shroud.
And is there any sense that the stream of souls is dying off? Or?
Currently, at this moment, it looks like the stream isn't particularly... It's certainly not a torrent, but it is still coming through. So there is a part of you that's wondering what on earth the B team are doing. Yeah. It seems like they're doing something, because you, from your expectations of what the Elysia were planning, you were expecting a stream of mana to be flowing into her. But yeah, it's kind of, I've been calling it's a bit of a wispy stream rather than a river.
Okay, so on the safe assumption that the B team has failed, I'm going to carry on up the stairs as much as I can to go and confront Nephinae.
Okay. As you break away and begin to head up, you do hear a and in front of you is a figure wearing a silver corvid mask.
There he is.
There he is.
And as the raven appears in front of you, there is, like, as they teleport in, the blade of the rapier is already sweeping towards you. Yeah, as he looks to skewer you as you approach his mistress.
I'm going to test my luck again with my self-defense skills.
Mm-hmm.
We flash back in Algernon's mind decades ago to his travels around the world, learning a martial art from a strange old master back to some bazaar.
Yeah.
A fighting style with a stick and one leg.
Yes.
As if he knew he some day might need it.
Okay.
And I'm going to attempt a skirmish as a reaction.
Okay. So, I will state that the Raven is a tier 4 opponent.
Mm-hmm.
You are obviously tier 3 gang, so we're going to start you on I'm going to start you on a risky lesser.
Okay. Well, immediately I can bump that up with infallible.
Okay, yes.
To standard.
Yep, risky standard.
And then I'm going to push myself for another dice because I've only got one hit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So 2 dice, risky, standard, skirmish. Do you want to trade up to desperate grade?
I've got to.
Okay. Is anyone wanting to reach out to help Algernon in this moment?
Yeah, I'm going to help Algernon against
So
bloody Raven. I hate that guy.
Yeah, okay.
I hate that guy.
Okay. So,
how far am I from where?
well, you fundamentally you can tell me. So, like, whilst the Blackguard are kind of tied up between you, Songbird, and Frida, Algernon's made a break for it. But given that you've just kind of incapacitated your Blackguard, if you want to make a break for it to be alongside Algernon, you can be. If you want to do something in range, you can. Yeah, you tell me.
I need to know the layout of this part of the room a little bit to do what I want to do, because basically I want to maneuver somehow so that I can get behind the Raven And if it helps, I would have a silence potion so that I am extra sneaky.
I think it would be more a case of
or I could just shout, "Look out!" or something like that.
So Algernon's effectively halfway up a staircase, so he's about 10 feet off.
It would be tricky for me to move around.
Unless you were to use, say, shadow to then.
I've used my special armor.
I see. Okay.
But I could help by shouting a warning, perhaps.
Okay.
Or if you wanted one of Atta's dimension door balls, you could have that in your loadout.
Yeah.
But Atta can't help anymore.
No, Atta cannot. I can help, but Atta cannot.
And you can't help a help.
No.
I think doing the shout out.
Shouty outy.
Yeah.
And that's my last thing I can do in this session before I traumatise myself.
Okay. So Magpie is up to 8 of 9 stress. So Algernon, as you're going up, you hear the Magpie spying the patterns of the Raven that she's more familiar with. She shouts out. That gives you enough time, the split second extra to figure out what you need to do. Do you want to take an extra dice?
Yes, so that's 4.
The risky start. Oh no, desperate greater, right?
So you're starting on 1 lesser, so risky lesser, then you're pushing an infallibility to take you up to. No.
I'm pushing.
Infallible takes it up to standard.
Yes.
And then pushing and being helped for the 2 extra dice.
So 2 extra dice.
Right?
So
Wait.
3.
Is that right?
And then switching to desperate great.
Did I distract it?
No, I think you're right. I start
3
with
dice.
1. I push for 2. You help for 3, and then I've done all my stuff to bump it up to desperate great.
Okay. So a 3 dice, desperate great skirmish against the Raven.
4.
So 4. Okay. So both of you will have to consider what's about to happen. Algernon, you succeed. So what is your? So effectively, what are you doing? What's the maneuver that you're doing to kind of disable the Raven?
His rapier comes up the top of my crutch and nudges it off. He's slightly off balance. I go in because I'm slightly lower down than him on the steps, swiping at his legs with my good one.
Okay. In which case, as the blade comes forward, you do your best to you parry it away as best you can with your crutch, and in doing so also sweep his legs out, which causes the Raven to tumble down sort of like a 15-foot drop off the staircase onto the floor below. And aided with a bit of a shoulder barge to kind of fully knock him off balance. Magpie, you just shouted, "Look out!" But Algernon, as you finish the shove with your shoulder to body the Raven off the staircase, as you pull back, you suddenly feel this searing pain in your chest, and as you look down, you realise that the blade has pierced through your chest and your lung. And that is going to be a level 3 harm. Unless you wish to resist, which will take it to level 2. And Magpie, you will take a level 2 harm.
Okay.
Sorry, a level 3 harm.
Oh, great.
As you shout, as you focus your attention on Algernon, that's all the window of opportunity another blackguard needs to swing a halberd down towards your back.
Right. So what's the harm?
So that'll be level 3.
Halberd in the back.
However,
halberd in the back.
Halberd in the back. So, effectively, lacerated back and pierced lung.
Okay.
But before you write it, does Algernon wish to resist?
No.
Okay. Well, no, because so fundamentally you'll be resisting separately, but Algernon has a pierced lung.
Could I resist on someone's behalf?
As a protective measure.
Because now I can use bodyguard.
How far away are you from Algernon? If this goes through on Algernon, as level 3 harm, Algernon will need help. Okay. So he'll have to push to basically do anything. So I'll say that you're in a position to help Algernon if you want to push in, and you take the pierced lung instead.
Oh, okay. But I wouldn't be able to use because I was thinking of using like the bodyguard ability rather than...
So I think bodyguard, you'll get an extra dice on the resist.
Yeah.
If you want to resist.
Okay. But then if I fail it, I would take the pierced lung instead.
So you'll take the stress, which
will traumatise.
Which will traumatise me.
Which will...
Yeah. Well, might make.
How are you feeling about your pierced lung?
So Algernon will fundamentally be on the staircase.
What would Frida do?
Like struggling to breathe as one lung collapses.
Yeah, well, what does it mean?
So
it means he'd have to push himself to basically do any actions.
Oh, we're both out of it now anyway.
Well, is anyone reaching out to help Algernon very specifically? Or... Because we can leave him to his fate. Because if you jump in, you've got armor.
I do have armor. Yeah, I think it would be pretty reckless for Frida to jump in the way of that. Yes. Yeah, so I'm gonna use my bodyguard ability. I'm gonna resist that for Algernon, and you just see Frida come in sideways. Like you can just see her sort of charging towards as this thing happens.
Very much Incredible Hulk, like filled with a rage potion, like your thighs swollen with power, but you leap up, you clear a good 15-foot rise up onto the staircase. You grab the tip of the rapier and bend it away as it then skewers into your pec. You can roll resist. If you don't want to roll resist, you have armor, so you can immediately use that to reduce it to level 2.
Okay. Oh yeah, I'll just do that. Yeah, level 2 arms up fine. That's just one minus dice, isn't it?
In which case, we'll say that the blade hits your chest plate, scrapes along the side, and then instead enters into your shoulder. Okay. So your left arm is dead. Your left
wiggly arm.
So your left arm can't be used at the moment as the blade pierces through it and kind of pops out your shoulder a little bit. So Algernon, you watch as the blade just swings past you, so you no longer have level 3 harm. Frida, are you using your armor?
Yeah, I'll use my armor.
So level 2 harm.
Yeah, got it.
Unusable left arm.
Bloop.
And Magpie, you shouted out, "Look out!" and you feel the presence of this blackguard take a step towards you, and you hear the sound of the halberd swinging through the air, and then you are pushed out of the way, and you hear the sound of a blade connecting with flesh and the scream of Songbird as the halberd rakes across her front.
Oh my god.
Damn.
As she bodies you to the ground. And she staggers a few steps, and you see a large gouge right across her midriff from shoulder to hip. And she stands for a moment, looks at the blackguard, and then falls backwards on her back.
Oh shit.
Songbird receives level 3 harm. Obliterated torso.
Obliterated torso. Excuse me, I got a case of obliterated torso dog.
Can't come into work, got an obliterated torso.
However, I should say, all of this is also on top of 3 segments on the Defeat the Blackguard.
Oh! Nice.
as Frida takes the wound on behalf of Algie, and he sort of stumbles down a bit onto the stairs, and in his mind, it flashes back to nearly 2 years ago when he was alone in Cadwallader Manor, face down in the Foresight solution, thinking specifically about his possible death and anything that could cause it. And he saw the face of Frida before he even knew her, before he recruited her to the gang, because he knew that someday she'd save his life.
Okay. In which case, you and Frida are side by side. Like Frida, your left arm just hanging limp at your side. But yeah, you can see the Raven prone on the stone floor just down below. But yeah, Algernon, you had this horrendous, like this vivid sense of deja vu as this moment you've dreamt of once upon a time, the face of a stranger at the time, all suddenly whips into sharp clarity. As the sound of Songbird collapsing to the floor echoes out her scream ringing off the stone walls, the Blackguard continue pressing on towards the rest of you who are gathered near the front door, so Cavern and Atto primarily. And as Songbird screams, between the two of you, Velka stops, and like his shoulders hunch as he turns and slowly looks at the prone form of Songbird. And you watch as he kind of doubles over slightly, and like he's still hissing. He looks to the two of you and says, "Finish this," he says. And you watch as he lifts his hands, and with a click of his fingers, the igniters spark, and the gases like releasing from his suit ignite, and he erupts into an inferno. But Cavern, you know that perhaps unlike when he did something similar to this at the Ruby Keep all that time ago, his suit is now punctured. And Velka lets out this mechanically enhanced roar and surges towards the Blackguard and begins tearing into them as he tries to as he slowly begins trying to move towards Songbird's form. But the way is now open. It is now, and like as Nephinae looks at you, Frida, and you, Algernon, you now realise that it is time to stop the ritual.
Oh my god.
But as you look past her, as you look past Nephinae, you also notice that you need to free Devira.
I think I want to try something.
Okay.
Without any stress to work with. So in my loadout, I've got demo tools.
Yes.
Bombs.
Yes.
or maybe Alchemist's Fire, and rats, many, in my loadout. While outside doing studying, can I also have been talking to my rats? So I think there's going to be some things in there that you might need to run up to, like, as we go in, maybe just like run up to the thing that needs blowing up the most. Whatever looks like it needs to, you know...
I'll trust your judgment.
Yeah, you know, whatever. It's like, these guys. I trust you guys. I love you guys. Peter, I love you. And I give them all names. Anyway, I think I'm going to try and... I feel like this is either... Well, I'd like to argue for either a wreck or a tinker at the least, because then I get 2 dice, maybe.
Okay.
Are you going to blow up the crystal in the centre of the room?
Well, I was thinking the astrolabe because that maybe looks like the thing that's doing stuff.
Yes. So you've come in. So Atta, so this is the first time you're in a bit of a wonderland. So you can see these spinning circles around this lady encased in a heart-shaped red crystal, floating about 20 feet above the ground. You can see Algernon and Frida on a staircase on the eastern side of this hexagon. Caverns alongside you. Velka's just going ham on the remaining blackguard. You can see Magpie stood over the collapsed form of Songbird, who appears to be just absolutely bleeding out. And yeah, you take one look at these spinning rings and you go, that's the shroud. And you can see this sort of like slight stream of mana running down into it.
Oh my god.
So yeah, that's your picture.
Okay.
Are you about to blow up the thing you love most?
Just magic stuff, maybe.
Damn.
I don't know. We'll see.
If the shroud is like a mini version of Bubble, that's what's happening.
The shroud.
I feel like, actually, sorry, I'd just like to call my own mini flashback. Because I feel like the stakes aren't high enough. Because Atta, as you come in and you acknowledge all this, and Algernon, you're stood on the side thinking, what are the B team doing? You then watch as the stream that funnels down in through the ceiling begins to, for all intents and purposes, sputter out. And then it stops. And as Nephinae is looking around, she's just watched the Raven get bodied by the stream of, by Algernon and Frida. She sort of like looks around and no, she shouts as she realizes that the energy that her stepmother needs has been stopped. And you get this sense of pride, maybe, that the B team have pulled through and they've stopped the Ilnashi. And then Nephinae sort of like looks to you, and there is a look of indignant rage that you've never seen etched on her face before. And then she turns to her stepmother and shouts, "Tear it down! Tear the veil down! Let them in! Swarm the city!" she shouts. And there's a lurch of, you feel this kind of wave of confusion from the center of the room, and like Turia's eye looks to her stepdaughter, and "There's no time! Swarm the city!" she shouts. And we will flash to the B team in Union Park.
What?
Having just, in the aftermath, the smoke, the magical vapor from Capable Tom's gun still smoking, the dust still settling from the assassin that's just been sucker punched by Tavarien, Alejandro and his crew running off into the adjoining district. And as the B team kind of look down and the gathered crowds are kind of scattered around and looking confused, they watch as patches of the purple veil overhead begin to flicker and fade, and then like burning parchment holes begin to appear in the veil, and what slowly at first, but then with increasing frequency, screaming spectres begin pulling themselves through the veil as Turia stops channeling her power into it. And as the ghosts descend down onto Union Park screaming, you find Algernon, perhaps all of your nightmares are come true, as Elysia is once again undefended from the ghosts that would tear it apart. So, just to add that to the mix, what would you like to do now?
Oh, just have a little break, have a cup of
It's also a
tea.
bit pointless now, doesn't it? We must. I think Magpie's going to make a break for Devera.
Oh, sorry, Atta.
Oh,
Atta,
okay.
it's your turn.
Sorry.
No,
So-
that's okay. Yeah, so we either need to get Devira out, or what? We don't. What's going to stop
How's it
the ritual?
affecting Devira?
So Devira's the heart speaker.
Yeah.
Maybe if she's free, she might be able to influence Turia somehow, or get her to turn the veil back on. Or I don't
kind
know.
of feel like Nephinae needs to fall from a great height, so maybe the rat bombs are at her feet as she shouts at her mother, and if they succeed, then she falls from a great height.
Okay.
And the rat gives a little wink to Algernon as they skitter over his prey.
So did you want to lean in on a... I mean, you're using exploding rats, so that's quite wreck.
It's quite wrecky.
It's quite wreck.
Quite wreck.
So that would be two dice for me.
A two
see what
dice
happens.
wreck. I will start this on a... Given that you had this hot... You felt the air around you seemingly turn cold, much like you felt when you ventured beyond the veil in the Castle Antalya job. And as you kind of get this feeling that you are now utterly unprotected to the memory spirits, I'm going to move you up to a desperate position to start, a desperate standard.
Desperate standard. Okay, sure.
Yeah. So 2 dice. Is Algernon or Catherine helping? Or maybe Frida? Frida's just ushering them in the right direction.
Mate, I've got like a gammy arm just dangling.
I can help you with an extra dice. You're just going, go on, off you go, and I'm like, fucking go.
That way. Okay, I'll take it. What colour? Oh, let's do the Catherine dice again. I like the white one. It feels like Catherine.
Okay, so is this a 3 dice desperate standard?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
So you're attempting to stop the ritual. It's a brand new 6 clock.
Oh, a 6 lock? Jeez. No, it's a 4.
I'll help you here. So a 4 is a partial success.
Yeah, it's a partial. We're okay.
Okay, in which case, as you encourage the rats to kind of run off, they scamper up the stairs surprisingly well, following your lead, and like Nephinae is kind of red in the face, screaming for this like scorched earth policy to just flood Elysia with ghost energy in a desperate attempt to get more power into this ritual. But as these rats kind of scamper, like Algernon and Frida, as you watch these rats scamper between your feet, and you notice the telltale signs of the red, the red strappings.
I think we should move backwards.
The rats kind of 2 rats run towards Nephinae, and like she looks down just in time to. She swings her left arm in like across herself, and a magical veil, like an arcane shield, appears before her. That is a success, but it's only reduced effect unless you want to hope for a 6 on a resist.
Don't do it. Don't resist.
What resist would it be? What roll?
It would be a
Prowess resist.
I can use
Could add
my
1 dice,
yeah. Because I can
come on! You've got to get a 6, or you're out.
I can resist.
And it's
for you.
only a lesser
on.
effect you'd be resisting.
If
I'd say take the lesser effect.
If I go out with rat bombs, it feels very atta.
Oh my
Does
god.
it not?
You've got a little straggler behind you, just like picking him up and almost like rugby running yourself into a.
Are you doing the resist?
Yeah.
This will get you a second. So this will get you 2 of the 6 slots rather than just 1.
Shit.
There's not a lot else I can do.
Well, no, there is. You could not do that and then take another action in future that might go better, and that will add more to the clock.
Sure.
Okay. Pulling Atom back from the precipice of trauma.
I'll keep my. I rarely get to use my special ability. I've never actually used it this whole
when
game.
we filled the clock up a bit.
I really like the idea of you picking up this rat, going to like rugby run, and then as you go past Magpie just grabs you by the back of the like back of the neck and goes,
scruff.
Nope.
Okay, in which
Not
case,
today.
yeah, Nephinae like brings her arm up. This shimmering shield appears in front of her. The rat
Oh, Peter.
The rat detonates, but the concussive force still knocks Nephinae backwards, and she like spirals and clatters down the staircase, down the other side.
See? It's very
But yes, one segment of the Stop the Ritual clock done. Who's up next? So Devira is suspended in the air.
I'm going to make a break for Devira.
Okay. Yes.
How do I get to her? Where is she?
So if you're... so where are you? So you're kind of roughly in the centre of the room-ish.
Yeah,
You've got Turia kind of floating up there, and you can see Devira floating about 20 foot up, like due north of Turia.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna duck and dive and weave and try to get over her and do a little lock picky. Can I pick the locks on her chain?
Well, so she is currently suspended in the air.
That's not
Say 20 foot up, like
no
arched
good
back,
at
and
all.
her mouth is.
That's no good. What do I do?
Did you say she was actually locked?
Is she?
So she's floating. She's got these kind of white
She's got
marble like.
manacles. I don't know how to get her down.
So they're not manacles as such, but these they look like magic. Well, they're made of the same kind of stone as everything else.
I might be able to help you here.
Okay.
Well, because I've got Ghost Fighter, so I may imbue my hands, melee weapons, or tools with spirit energy, and I gain potency in combat with supernatural. I may grapple with spirits and restrain and capture them.
I mean,
but if
well, I was going to say, if nothing else, you've got to be able to get her to an interactable range first, if anything. So if you've got anything to, I don't know, lasso her, for example.
Well, can I have some?
I could have some manacles.
There's some rope on me.
If you what?
In fact, manacles.
My loadout so far has only been one.
Is there anything on your list that can be used to
Yeah.
either get you up 20 feet or get her down?
So I've got manacles and chains for chains, which is a 0 loadout. I can try and use the chains to kind of lasso her foot or wrap it, sort of throw it so it wraps around her foot. And do a yank.
That's not a bad idea.
I could try it. I could give it a go with my one arm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing you're right-handed.
If you get her down, I'll see if there's anything I can do with the manacles.
Okay. What ability would you like to use for this, Frida?
Well, no, it sounds more finessey, really, doesn't it?
Finessey,
How's your finesse?
I've got one, but then how does that work with the -1 die? Does that mean just no die?
So you're not... realistically, a lasso job isn't really a two-handed job in this sense, so I would say we won't count that.
Okay. Oh, well, thank you.
Your gammy left arm isn't going to affect you in this. But it would affect you if you were defending yourself.
It's a good job I'm right-handed.
I would help, but I can't. Feeling very sleepy.
Okay, so
That's okay.
Frida,
I still have my special armor.
So this is a... Oh, okay.
So I can still take a devil's bargain.
Okay. Regardless of what happens, Turia unleashes a magical assault on the room.
On the room.
Don't like it.
Yeah, but I mean, it could put some pips on Stop the Ritual because I get 2 extra dice.
Okay.
We can weather a magical assault, surely.
Okay.
YOLO, Yay! Okay. Oh boy. So it'll be 3 dice finesse to grapple Devira down, essentially.
Okay. Yep.
Does my Ghost Fighter count for shit in this?
Not in this case, no. Everything's quite physical. I will start you on a desperate standard.
If she's being held up in the air by supernatural forces, and I can imbue the manacles with
magical artists.
Supernatural energy.
You think that maybe these shackles around her wrists are what are suspending her, much like Turia, but no.
Okay.
So I'll start you on a desperate standard.
Yeah.
So you've got.
Well, I can't bloody do anything because, if I push myself, I'm out of the game.
So desperate standard's 1 dice. Are you taking both of those upgrades to give you 2 more dice?
Yeah. Well, yes.
So you could go 3 dice desperate standard. You could go 2 dice desperate great.
Oh.
It might be worth, because it's going to be desperate either way.
Yeah.
It might be worth shooting for the great.
Yeah, fuck it.
But then it's only.
I've given you a Devil's Bargain.
Well, I get
actually.
3 dice anyway, because I get 1 dice in finesse, 2 dice with the Devil's Bargain.
Oh yeah.
So I've got 3 dice.
Oh, cool.
So I
And
could
then
just go for the better effect.
What is it that's giving you the better effect?
Oh wait, what
So
was it?
Devil's Bargain gives you two
okay.
upgrades, basically.
Oh, okay. So it's not just 2 dice; it's 2 upgrades. So I could,
This dice all effects.
yeah. So I could do like 1 dice and do it at 2 dice, and then do 1 on the effect, or I can do Desperate Standard.
For 3 dice.
But for 3 dice and get better chance.
So 3 dice Desperate Standard or 2 dice Desperate Great. Your options, really.
It's up to you. What would
Are you
3
risking
do?
it for a biscuit?
I mean, it sounds pretty reckless, isn't it? So 2 dice, Desperate Great. 4 and a 3.
Still a
Okay.
Partial is partial.
It's a partial. Okay, so that is Desperate Great. I'm going to whack you up to, I'm going to say lesser effect, just to twist that knob a bit. So that 3 segments down to 2 segments, so you manage to kind of wrap round Devira's leg, and you have to pull hard, and it's like at this point the lack of left arm is a bit of a struggle as you as the watch
See the
muscles bulge.
biceps are like. Ugh.
Captain America wrestling a helicopter styly as you
yeah.
pull her down, and you manage to break the magical bonds that are holding her aloft, and Devira comes crashing down to terra firma with you.
Oof.
I would have caught her, but no arm.
Good point.
As that happens, there is a rippling pulse through the room emanating from Devira, and you hear a chorus of screams and Cavern and Atta, you see this moments before the wave hits you, but you watch as the gathered Lodge Reticent that are kind of scattered around underneath Turia all kind of grab their heads and scream, and they start to wither, like the moisture is being sucked out of them, and they all collapse to the ground as Turia siphons their life energy and then assaults you all with a blast that assails your minds. I'm going to ask everyone to roll, so we'll do it 1 in turn, a single d6 to see if you can resist this psychic assault.
Oh, do we all get +1 to die rolls?
No, you do not.
No.
Oh,
So
+1
starting with Cavern, a 1 dice
To be
fortune
fair,
roll.
it's not a full-on resistance because
No,
otherwise
it's
we're going to
not.
stress.
Okay, so
I just thought I'd do a
Cavern.
jammy bugger and see if
So
it
Cavern
works.
is a fail. Frida
Yay!
is a fail.
Yay!
Atta,
What's with all these threes?
fail. Algernon,
Oh my
Wow,
god.
it's all 3s.
Join us!
and
Join
Magpie.
us! Join us!
As well.
Oh.
Worst kind
Brilliant.
of.
Oh, TPK. And if someone could roll another for Valka.
We got 6.
Velcro
Okay.
finishes the game for us.
So you feel your mind bludgeoned by this magical assault as Turia unleashes this kind of mental scream that ripples through the air, empowered by the essence she's just forcefully drawn from the other Lodge Reticent members. And your worlds kind of, the 5 of you are flung back to the ground, your world's kind of enveloped in darkness. And as you come back to, anyone that's failed takes a level 1 harm, like mental assault.
Oh,
So anything,
Effects.
yeah. So as you come back to, you feel like your hearing is fuzzy, your vision is blurry. It feels like you're drunk and underwater simultaneously, just as like everything just seems to be going in slow motion as you can't, like your brains are addled by this psychic assault. And like Turia is thrumming with energy, even as she's kind of cocooned within the crystalline shell. As the five of you kind of pick yourselves up, the sounds of Velka tearing into the like oblivious to what's happening. Who's picking up? Who's going next?
Can I attempt to lockpick in any way possible?
Yes.
To bypass these security measures around Devera's wrists.
Yeah.
Please.
No, absolutely. So
I suspect it'll be a tinker if that's possible.
Yeah. We'll say a tinker. I will start you because of the mental assault.
Yeah.
I will start you on a desperate lesser.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything I can do about that?
You could push yourself and bounce out the score.
No, thank you.
Perhaps not then.
No,
so it might just be a
just-
3 dice desperate lesser.
So even if I succeed, it's only 1 pip, right?
Correct.
Well, that
If you
sucks.
crit, that's 2.
It's a crit.
Oh!
I thank you. Yeah.
You great on lockpicking.
That's because I'm really good at lockpicking, obviously.
In which case, Magpie, as you like, it's a proper moment as you kind of stagger towards the blurry form of Devera. You kind of drop to one knee and as you struggle to focus on what you're doing. You feel your kind of muscle memory kick in to the point where your brain, as adult as it is, you don't have to rely on it to do what you do best. And as you sort of like interact with these arcane locks that you've kind of dealt with in your time as a lurk, like even as you're kind of blacking in and out of consciousness, you still kind of working away. And like as the world kind of comes to again, and your vision returns, you hear a clonk as these magical stone manacles fall to the floor, and you hear this echoey groan from the woman in front of you as Devera kind of snaps to and Magpie, she says. She looks to you, but her voice trails off into an echo. And you then see as she kind of stands up and Algernon, she says. She looks in your direction, but with a crit, 1 extra slot, you have freed Devera.
Nice. Great. Probably gonna let her know that the city's being flooded with dangerous spirits and that Toria really needs to, get that veil back up. If there's any way she can help with that.
Yeah. If that's what you're, as you kind of shout and like you're shouting, but not that you know it.
Just like because I go, Devera.
Devera sort of like looks to you, Algernon, looks up to Turia, and you see her sort of like kind of close her eyes as if she's, and Algernon, she has this look as if she's concentrating on something she doesn't do all that often, that she's unsure of, like not so confident about doing. But you, Algernon, you register this kind of red aura emanating around her sort of like central torso, and she sort of like, she strains and struggles. She thrusts her hands towards Turia, and Turia, like, who's still thrumming, but like the air around her vibrating with energy, and suddenly it stops as Devera catches control as a crystal singer, and now that Turia is almost completely made of mana crystal, she seizes her, and you feel as she strains and struggles and Turia just frozen in spot, you feel that familiar warmth begin to permeate the room again as the veil begins to restructure itself, as Devera wrestles control of Turia to reinstate the veil herself. I will reduce the threat level back down to risky while Devera is concentrating on this. Who's next?
If Devera's handling that, might go and see what Nephinae is doing.
Okay.
She got knocked down the stairs.
She did. So as you stagger to like the edge and like you have to shaking your head, trying to be able to focus. Nephinae is gone.
Uh-oh.
Where'd she go?
You see her, like, as you scout the room, you see her sort of like limping away towards the other side of the room. She's trying to put distance between you and her. You collectively and her.
Can't be having that.
But fundamentally, she's out in the open. There are no more lodge. They're all withered husks scattered around underneath Turia like dead flies.
No more blackguard either, and no more rats.
The blackguard. Well, so the blackguard are currently, swarming Velka. It's just
Nothing to block her from a pistol.
Or what would it be like to put those like manacles on her that were under the
So she looks like she's trying to escape.
She does, but then you watch as the veil kind of re-emits out of Turia thanks to Devira's manipulations, like you watch as Nephinae kind of stops and then turns around to see what's happening, and noticing that Devira is cognate and doing her best to stop whatever's happening. You see Nephinae. It looks like Nephinae is about to attack your sister to stop her stopping Nephinae. So she has stopped, and she's about to do something.
Okay. Seeing that's about to happen, I'm going to let her try it and do that, and then see if she comes close enough for me to get in range of my pistol.
Okay. She, noticing that what Devira is doing, you watch as Nephinae pulls out a small, slender, crystalline dagger, and as she begins running towards Devira, and she's within striking range, and
I'm going to go up to my sister, and I'm going to reach into the inside of her jacket pocket and pull out a little vial of red mineral.
Okay.
I'm going to uncork it. Just inhale the whole thing. And I want to see every single possible version of where Nephinae is coming from, where she's going to strike. And I want to be there.
And a Sherlock Holmes it.
Okay. I mean, sure. Would you like to count that as like a free push? Like an extra bump of foresight?
Yes, if I'm foresighting it, I think it could be a tune.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so we'll say it's a free push, so a free use of your foresight ability. We will start you. Like, everything is balanced. Like, as you see possible future time, like, pathways, and they play out in unison, and you just feel centered. So I will start you on a risky standard. Risky standard, 2 dice. You've got a free push, so where do you want to put that?
More dice.
3 dice risky standard. Do you wish to switch to a desperate grade?
Yes.
Okay. 3 dice. Desperate grade. A tune.
Oh boy.
5.
Ooh.
You do it. So you find the correct series of like the minuscule combination of cause and effect that will lead you to the future that you want to be in, and as you kind of visualize it in your mind and kind of select it from the myriad thousands of possible outcomes, when you come to, you are in the space that you want to be. Nephinae is in the space where you want her to be. What do you do?
just reach out, softly grab the back of her neck, almost as the moment where her dagger's about to stab Devira. And I say, "Is this your card?" And my pistol goes off.
Okay. I will. The Desperate Great is 3 segments. And the gun, so you've got the pistol effectively to a...
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As you say that, and there is the world goes silent for a moment as you hear the click. You hear the sound of skin being depressed. You hear the sound of the mechanisms colliding as you pull the trigger. You hear the staccato kind of snap as the mana crystal inside your pistol ignites, firing a energized beam from the barrel into Nephinae's neck to emerge from the other side of her neck. And as in this moment of stillness, she looks to you shocked, and then the world catches up and she's flung away from you as the concussive force of your pistol fires her away, and she screeches across the ground, a hole clean through her neck, one side to the other. And Devira turns, slowly turns to look at you as you peer down. And the dagger is embedded in your heart. Level 3 harm. I didn't get the lung, but I might get the heart.
Oh,
Punctured heart.
I'd like to resist that, please.
Okay.
If it's resolve.
This is, I think in this case I might have to argue for a prowess if it's a knife to the heart.
Okay.
So it's still a 3. It's still a 3 dice, if nothing else.
Is it?
2.
But you get +1 because you're forged in the fire.
Oh, I love that forge.
So 3 dice.
Yeah, let's go for it. It has to be 4 or more. 3 or
Well, 4 or more.
Christ. 6.
Yes.
Level 2 harm. Let's just call it like a deep chest wound. So the knife is still, the dagger is still embedded in your chest, and it will make it hard to move, to breathe, to whatnot. But you also know that to pull it out would make things infinitely more catastrophic. But you suddenly feel your legs go weak as the world kind of catches back up to you. But 3 segments on that clock. The stop the ritual is nearly complete. Who's going next?
Oh.
Who's got any juice left in them?
I don't know what I could do.
Go over there and kick her in the head.
She's
on the floor.
Magpie wants to call tarot. Bold? A little bit.
Bold.
I was thinking she would probably do something like...
She'd probably love this.
She'd
So,
probably, invite her...
Let me raise the stakes.
Right.
You all hear the sound of Algernon's hidden firearm fire through Nephinae's neck. But then you all turn to see, your vision starts to kind of come to, because your visions are returning to normal because Devira's, controlling Turia. But you see Algernon kind of stagger a few steps with this knife protruding from his chest. And you watch as Devira, no! Turns to grab her younger brother, and in doing so, the grip over Turia drops, and Turia's eye kind of flicks back to you that she can see, and there's this anger, this primal anger, and it looks like Turia is about to do something horrendous. Whatever her and Nephinae were planning on doing, it looks like Turia is about to strike the final match.
So seeing that, Magpie is going to essentially turn her face up to the sky and yell, "Taro! Are you not entertained yet? If the city falls, there is no more fun for you! Get down here!"
Okay. Which ability would you like to use?
That sounds quite commandy, and I have nothing in command. Sway?
Would anyone
Speaking her language?
like to aid Magpie?
I will aid. I was going to say.
Yes!
If it's a sway, it's 1 plus a help is 2.
Unless someone would like to lead a group roll to
Group
summon
command.
Taro.
I can do that.
Who's got good command?
Yeah,
both of you
I've
got
also
good
got good command, and also I've got something.
Well, it needs to be whoever's got the most stress available,
So-
basically.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the how good the leader is at the skill doesn't affect how much stress they take.
Algie's got 3. Cameron's got 4.
I've got 3.
3, big one.
So either of you guys, if you want to lead it,
Okay. So, Algernon, bear in mind, so this will be a -1 dice for you because it's hard to breathe. But I mean, it is what it is.
no, you know, I'm happy to just do it with a help. I think that's probably safer because if you end up taking multiple stress because we all fail, that's really dangerous.
I feel like this may well be the last roll of the game.
I was going to say I don't mind taking a bit of stress. Like, I don't mind doing.
Let's all take
Let's all just take a bit of stress.
Stress ourselves out about it.
Let's get
Group
through
trauma.
together.
Group trauma.
Yay.
Trauma shared is trauma.
I will need a leader. Does Algernon want to lead?
Fine.
Okay, Algernon is leading a group sway
He
to
said it
summon.
all along that he's not the person that sits back and pushes the pawns. He's the leader.
Okay, so this is a group command to summon the
Command,
attentions.
is it?
Yeah, I
So
presume
I'm
it's
a
command.
disadvantage on
So, do we all roll our regular command rolls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's
So,
been a while since we've done a group
We'll
thing.
start. Yeah, so everyone
gives
rolls
me a stress.
separately. So we'll start with Algernon.
2 dice.
So a 2 dice, and this is. I feel that this is kind of it, right? So this is a desperate grade. So a desperate standard.
5.
5.
Okay, so we've got a 5. We'll go the other way. Start with Magpie.
I have 0 in command, so it's 2 dice and
Yeah.
take the lower.
Yeah.
Is that a 1?
A 1.
Yeah.
Okay, we have 1 fail
Sorry, Algernon.
and a 5. Atta,
So I've got 1 pip in command, which means 1 dice.
1 dice.
But I've also got soul fatigued and mental ass. So does that mean 0 dice?
Well, that's less effect.
Less
Yes.
effect.
So it's
Yeah. So that's actually moot in this case.
Yeah.
But my soul fatigued means I get. Oh, is that in just a tune or
Just on
all
like magic
resolve?
stuff. So yeah, fundamentally, I feel like you're all just shouting into the ether to Taro.
3.
3.
3. Okay, so 2,000. Frida.
hello. Oh boy. 4s.
Success. 4.
So a
What's a
4.
success?
Yeah,
So it's a
4, 4, and a
partial.
2.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a partial. Cavern.
I've got no command as well, so it's going to be taking the lesser.
Oh, I'm sorry, Algie.
So, on the back of a 5, Algernon, as the 5 of you kind of scream to Taro.
I have a suggestion that we use her real name.
Mm-hmm. Are we confident that's her real name?
And we shout out for Melodana's help.
I will invoke I will. Off the back of a partial desperate standard, that is... I will invoke a complication alongside 2 segments on the clock. And as you scream, your voices, your throats roar for Taro and then Meladani. Your voices, the chorus of your voices is joined as Turia begins channeling whatever spell she was channeling, and as the arcane energy thrums through her in this devastating explosion, you watch as the small portion of her face that is still visible, her flesh erupts into jagged crystalline growths as she fully encapsulates herself and becomes a solid crystalline structure. And the force of the energy cracks the concentric rings around her, and the mechanisms of the shroud detonate outwards into shrapnel that scatter across the room. And for those of you that can see her, you watch as Nephinae's prone form lifts off the ground and vanishes. And as you see this eruption of energy emerge from Turia, the force of which fully kind of engulfing her in crystal, the world stops. Meladani. Curious. Very curious. And you feel weightless, as you feel like you're no longer part of the physical world. But you turn to see a lady wearing a purple ringmaster's coat, and she's adjusting a purple top hat on her head. I can't say that anyone's called me Meladani before. I feel like Meladani would be very upset if she heard that. And you don't want to upset a god now, do you? She says, as Taro looks to you all, and she takes a step back and regards what's happening, this moment of time that she's frozen. Yes, I am entertained. This has been thrilling, she says. Would you like to see the results of your actions? She says. And with a smile, the room disappears from view, and you find yourself somewhere. You find yourself in front of the ruins of the Ruby Keep. And Elysia has frozen in time. But as you look up, you can see this stream, this tidal wave of ghosts. Now that the veil, you realise that with Turia completely crystallizing herself and fundamentally ending her own life, the veil has disappeared with no one to control it anymore. And the ghosts for a second time are surging down. You can see citizens of Elysia running in a panicked way, trying to escape ghosts that have seemingly appeared from the first dropping of the veil. But you can see that what's the tidal wave that's now descending will seal Elysia's fate. And Taro stands among the 5 of you, looking up at the sky. Who would have thought that after everything we've done together, it would end up like this? Did you enjoy yourselves? She says. And you feel like you've regained control of your voices.
No, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Taro. But this isn't the way it ends, I'm afraid. Take us back for one last game.
You see, Algernon, I feel that you're right on many things, but there are just some there are some games that you're just simply not equipped to play. And she kind of looks around, and it's curious, everything that's happened, truly. There was a question that was burning all of your minds at certain points. Did you ever figure out where we are? I'll take the resounding silence as a no. Elysia, some of the structures around Elysia are impossibly older than any of you could imagine. But I must admit, it's quite heartwarming to see a little slice of home every now and again. It's been a while since I've seen architecture as beautiful as Turia's coffin. But when I told you all that, or when I told people that at least the veil would fall, I wasn't lying. You understood that correctly. It was a promise. It wasn't a threat or a risk. It was a promise. And now we have a city of people who are in the final moments of their lives. And it's just so exciting. Perhaps exciting enough that I would like to watch you play on a little longer. Such interesting creatures, you know. I've loved that about you. You've been some of my favourites. And she kind of steps backwards to be kind of among you. And it's endless, isn't it? She says as she gestures to the roiling purple void overhead, no longer filtered by the veil. It makes you wonder where it came from, why it exists. Would you like to see? And with a click, the cacophony of chaos enveloping Elysia snaps back into action as you see this tide of ghosts descend down. You see the people suddenly snap back into motion as they're running away for their lives. The five of you turn and look, and you can see Roth kind of limping down from a rooftop. You can see Fiends and Lorenzo in the park just off to your right, kind of looking around as these ghosts descend on them. And Taro shouts over the din, "Everyone pay attention now," she says, pointing at the sky, the void overhead. And you watch as in this roiling purple mass, a sliver of yellow begins to appear. And it expands and expands, and then you notice there's a black column running up the middle of this yellow shape that's expanding into a circle. And Cavern, as you look up, all of those years looking in a mirror, you can't help but wonder if you're looking at an eye like your own. And as the enormity of this gargantuan eye opening in the distance and looking down on you, the void seems to shift and perspective kind of warps and shapes, and you realise that framed around this floating eye is an impossibly large draconic face. And you, as the horns begin to come into relief, whether or not you've seen it in books or not, you all know that looking down on the city of Elysia is a Khan, the father of the draconic pantheon. And as a Khan seemingly opens his eyes, and there's a ponderous thrashing of movement in the void overhead, the ghosts that are descending on Elysia stop, and they turn to look up at this deity that's floating in void space overhead. And they begin to surge upwards, away from the citizens, towards the Dragon Father. And as they begin colliding and scratching and biting at his scales, you see him thrash and roar. "This place is a prison," Taro says as she stands marvelling at the ghosts ripping at Khan's scales. "You're just unfortunate. It wasn't ever really meant to be a prison for you," she says. And as the citizens of Elysia kind of stand around a bit dumbfounded as to what's happening, as their attention follows the ghosts drifting up, you start to hear murmurs of confusion, of panic, of surprise, as the Elysians see the betrayer in physical form looming over this speck of a city in his shadow. And Taro sighs a contented sigh. "Just think of all the tales they're going to tell," she says with a smile. And as a Khan's eye turns to transfix on Elysia, this impossibly booming, sonorous voice utters a single word of power, and your world explodes into light. Darkness stretches on, invading all of your senses, before being replaced with this feeling of being pulled violently. If it were physical, it would feel like hurricane winds rushing through your hair, but instead it feels like it's blowing through your souls, your very essences instead. And as everything comes to a sudden halt, as the five of you slowly open your eyes, in lieu of the face of the betrayer, you see a blue sky. You see clouds overhead. And perhaps for the first time in over 2 years, you hear birdsong. As you pick yourselves up, you can see the citizens around you kind of looking dumbstruck as they peer around. And it's difficult to see past the skyline of Elysia, given that you're pretty much in the centre of it. But your noses are struck with this saltiness in the air. You hear, it's a sound from your memories, perhaps. It sounds like the sea, gently crashing waters. The sounds of You can see birds flying overhead, squawking like angrily at one another as they kind of flying away from your location. But it seems like you're back. What do you collectively do? So let's start with Algernon. What do you do?
As the first ray of sunshine hits Algernon's face for over 2 years, he's just overcome with a warm nostalgia for the days out on the water at Morton Boys College, cheering for the sky blues as the sky is finally blue again. And even though it wasn't exactly all part of the plan, it seems that everything he's wanted to happen and all of the dark deeds he's done have come to fruition somehow, and he doesn't understand why. He's not in control of everything, but he, for once in his life, accepts it.
Atta, as you take in everything that you're seeing, given that it's been years since you've seen this blue sky, as you look around, you notice that there are these kind of motes of pearly light floating around you. And one of them you just get the feeling it's looking at you as it floats up towards you. Like someone getting closer to a misted window. You see a face you see a face that would always bring you some form of happiness, as your grandmother's features begin to form out of this pearly light. And unlike the last time you saw her, her features twisted in rage and hunger, there's a contented smile with touched with pride. As your grandmother her form somewhat materializes out of this pearly light, and she reaches a hand out to you.
Yeah, Atta was going to think of Grandma and see if that happens. So since Grandma is here, she's going to reach her hand out, take Grandma's hand, and just kind of try and hold on to it.
In which case, as you grab her hand with both, like, your fingers, your palms come into contact with one another slightly as you realise she is incorporeal, but you can still feel her presence in a way. And your grandmother once again smiles and nods, and then you watch as these kind of pearly motes that you feel, are these the souls that were trapped in Elysia? They begin to drift upwards towards the sky, and your grandmother holds your hand for as long as she can before she fades from view and her mote of light disappears up before twinkling out like a star in the daylight.
Atta's going to try and compel.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What are you compelling?
I'm compelling Grandma to stay.
As you kind of reach out, you've never, like in Elysia, like in the void, the spirits around you have just kind of, like, they've been wordless, they've been voiceless. But as you reach out to your grandmother, in your voice you hear, "I'll never be far away, but now I need to rest." And you get the impression, you feel that now that she's no longer trapped within the void that Elysia found itself in a Khan's prison void, she's now able to move on.
I'll come and find you.
"I know you will," she says. She drifts away. What's Frida doing?
I think Frida is looking around a bit dumbfounded, and then just, it's kind of like sounds a bit like a hiccup. You think maybe a sob, like, and then just laughter. Just this laughter to the point where tears just start forming and streaming, and she's just looking around at everyone, just laughing.
As you kind of rock slightly at your kind of happy hysteria, I guess, as you're kind of taking in your surroundings, you look up and you see that there's an almost perfect circle of clear blue sky above you, as if the clouds have been blown away. But like as you turn and kind of scan the horizon, you look, I mean, growing up in Elysia, you know that you'd be looking westwards, so towards like Haveny, the edge of kind of Celestry. And you notice that in the distance of this place that you're in, there appears to be a cliff line a way away. And as you peer, you feel like you can see buildings along the cliff line and down, like you don't see much of the cliff given the skyline, but there seem to be buildings down the side of it as well. But you feel like you don't know if there's ground between you and them, but there's civilization over there.
Yeah. I start pointing and I start like kind of like pointing out to other people, and I'm still laughing, and it's just and I just so full of like overwhelming hysterical excitement that I'm almost like dragging people along to be like, and it just starts, we can leave.
What's Magpie doing?
I think hearing Frida and seeing where she's pointing, I think Magpie is just going to start climbing.
Okay. I mean, the Ruby Keep is behind you.
It's right there.
So yeah, you see that a number of people are trying to get to high ground to see what's up. But as you gain more elevation, Frida's absolutely right. There's a cliffside that leads down to what appears to be a beach, and like you kind of get the impression. Again, it's a bit difficult to tell because of distances and perspectives and whatnot, but you feel like you're not, like you feel like you're out to sea, but you're not in the sea. Is Elysia floating in space? But you see that there's a coast that rises up this cliffside to this settlement at the top, and although it's quite far away, you can see that there is certainly activity happening in this settlement, and you begin to hear Elysians gathering around and where are we? What's happened? Why is the sky not purple?
I think she's just gonna, a huge smile just breaks out over Magpie's face, and she just calls out, "We're back! We're over the sea, but we made it!
Catherine?
I think from hearing everyone else shouting we're back, he's going to scan the crowds and see if other people we know have made it.
As you look around, you can see the rest of the B team. You look up and you see kind of Mecha Tavarian, or Tavarian and Capable Tom standing like many floors up in the ruins of the keep. They seem to be struggling to get down, but Tavarian is just kind of peering down at you with her head slightly tilted. You can see Lorenzo and Fiends attending to Roth, who is limping very heavily. But as the gathered crowds in the square in front of the Rui Keep grows, you spy a yellow-scaled dragon scent woman. And she stands at odds with the citizens of Spire Park for her dishevelled look, her rag-like appearance, but you watch as Dorothea stands up and is just looking around, and she turns to regard you, and you've never seen, I doubt you've ever seen Dorothea break and cry before, but her eyes are quivering, as is her bottom lip as she looks around. And as she locks eyes with you, she studies you for a moment and then nods as her mouth slowly twists into a thanking smile.
He nods back.
You, looking around, it would seem that through your various actions, you don't see any casualties, so it doesn't look like the spirits that were assailing Elysia managed to catch anyone. There doesn't appear to be any wounded. So through your actions, you have saved Elysia and her citizens. Was there anyone else you're hoping to see?
I think some other people who we've met just sort of along our way. He's assumed that he's probably not going to see Songbird and Velka. He's looking to see, probably not the first person he thought he would think of, but he wonders if Musto's down there.
As you wonder, you hear from the crowd, out of the way! Someone get me a box! And, you see a tight-fitting pork pie hat emerge from the crowd, as Musto looks around at what's going on? What's happening? He starts shouting, and you see him shouting to a couple of the gathered cobbles that are kind of lurking nearby, and he's like, "You, knowledgeable Tom, where are we?" And you just hear, "You ain't my boss anymore." And you just see, Musto just you get the impression he's just hands on his hips, shoulder height with everyone else in the crowd, just looking around, and he pops his hat off and starts scratching his head as he begins to try to gauge what's happening. But over the next few minutes, hour perhaps,
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
As these adrenaline sort of succeeds, Algernon feels that deep pain in his chest from the stab wound. And he takes from his possessions the Varen seed. Yes. And he looks around and he finds an appropriate space within the ruins of the keep and Spire Park, and he plants it in the ground.
Okay. As you, I'm perhaps aided by the others, as you complete the burial of this seed, and as you finish covering it over, you see a slight thrum of energy emitting from where you've buried it. You hear from behind you, "Did we do it?" And as you turn round, you see Devira with Velka in his completely blackened, eye goggles cracked and smashed, with one arm over her shoulders as she emerges from the ruins of the keep. "Did we do it?" she repeats.
I'm not sure if it was us, but it definitely happened. Perhaps divine intervention.
As you say that, the rest of you, you're overhearing some of the conversations from the crowd, and the bewilderment of being in a new place seems to have passed, but you start to hear some people start to question, "What? How did we get here? What? Who was that in the sky? What was that? That was a Khan, wasn't it? That was a Khan. Did we get brought back by a Khan?" And these rumours and murmurs begin to ripple through the crowd. And Algernon, as the crowd sort of start moving and kind of throwing to and fro as they're asking kind of their nearby, anyone nearby in the crowd, it parts enough that you see a lady in a purple ringmaster's coat. And as she closes her eyes and smiles as she listens to these questions being asked, and she opens her eyes to look to the five of you, and as the crowds blend in front of her again, Taro is gone. And as you begin to take a moment, the Varen seed planted in the ruins of the Ruby Keep, as the five of you kind of turn to kind of step out of the keep itself, the dust on the ground in front of you begins to swirl, and you watch as a circle of silvery blue runes it emerges into reality and stretches, creating a portal. And from the portal emerges a Lorovar man in a fine grey coat, a blue cloak hanging from ornate kind of clips, a circlet with a red, blue and yellow gem embedded across the front, sat over silver white hair swept back. Following behind him is a much older, a gruffer, broader shouldered Lorovar man with short cut grey hair, a relatively well maintained beard, in a long coat, like a long jacket of sorts, a firearm over his shoulder, and an eye patch over his left eye. And the white-haired Lorovar man emerges, and seeing you as the first, he turns around as a portal closes behind him, and excuse me for interrupting. I was wanting to ask where you've just come from. My name is High Magister Meridius Redan. This is Carmichael Comstock of the town of New Prosper. We have some questions to ask you. One year later.
They finish their questions. Takes that long.
A whole year has passed since the city of Elysia rematerialized above the seas south of the town of New Prosper in Elsewhere. Connecting to what you've discovered is one of many explorer expedition founded towns. Elysia has been returned to the fold, so to speak. A curious floating city about a half mile off the coast of the landmass. Let's start with Frida. Where do we find her a year later?
So a year later, you actually see Frida, and it's actually the first time you've seen her in about a year. And she's crossing the threshold of the Spectre, and she's wearing travelling clothes, and there's a sort of like a sort of, you know, sort of brazened look to her skin, where she's clearly been at the sun a lot, and you know, she's carrying a heavy, like, you know, like travelling satchel, and she's sort of like plonks it down in front of the bar and leans over and calls whoever's working behind the bar now. It's not necessarily Eric, I don't know who it is, but calls over and say, hey, bartender, what have you got to drink these days?
The figure stops and turns round, and perhaps you're glad to see the familiar face of Eric, who... Frida? By the gods, girl, you've been gone for... How are you?
I'm all right. I'm, you know, I'm good. I'm good. I've been away for a while, but I'm back. Just specifically to have a drink at your fine establishment.
Oh, well, I mean, it is a bloody fine establishment. I'll give you that. You're looking good as well. What are you having? We've got slightly more on the menu than we're used to.
So wait a minute. To be honest, Eric, I'll take anything as long as it's never been near a bloody mushroom in its life.
He looks to you, and as he turns to the now fully stocked bar shelves behind him, don't you worry, I think we can sort you right out, he says.
Fantastic.
As he pours you a drink, what's the tale that impresses him the most for your journeys over the last year?
I think the last year, Frida has been just, you know, she's spent her entire life in Elysia, either in indentured servitude or under a dome. She's never been outside the city limits. So she essentially goes as far and as wide as she can in a year. She's been, you know, she's done hired mercenary work, you know. She was a sheriff for a small town, not unlike knew Prosper when it started out, you know, just on the verges. Like, she was a sheriff in a small town for a few months. She's reconnected with some of her like wolfkin kind of culture and heritage, and met people, and these are the sort of stories that she's sort of, you know, relaying, you know, as she sort of like cradles her drink. But then she finishes it by saying, but to be honest, I still think the most impressive thing or the most awe-inspiring thing I've done in the past year, and to be honest, in my life, is meet the people that meet my family, you know, that I made in this city, and now I'm back. I'm back to see my family.
He kind of nods, and there's an almost fatherly warmth in his face as you tell him the story.
Speaking of, where are the buggers? Are any of them still left?
Well, I mean, well, he ums and ahs, and well, when it comes, so I suppose, well, let's start with Atta. Where do we find Atta 1 year later?
There is probably, it's hard to tell whether it's natural stone or man-created stone. But Atta's in a room. The room is filled to the brim with various things. There's probably little to no light in this room. On the walls are multiple copies of the runes that we saw in the Turia's prison.
Yeah.
There are multiple books filled with notes, notably of which Umi's notebook, copied several times, used very, very close to Atta, kind of wrapped around, chained to her. There are spirit bottles, experiments, many different kinds of spirit bottles strewn about the place, and Atta is furiously writing, muttering to herself, and a small rat near her. I just can't get it right, Stephen. I'm not really sure where it will be. And then, as it kind of pans out, there are also multiple versions of diving suits around the room. And you leave her muttering to herself and Stephen with her research.
Well, as you do find yourself muttering, the door creaks. Well, a door opens, throwing some light into the room, and you hear two distinct footsteps. One very kind of loud and thuddy like, and then much lighter footsteps. And the room is somewhat illuminated by a shifting blue glow as Tavarien peers in and... Have you had any luck, Atta?
I'm not sure yet. I need to try more.
Well, while I was going through the city, she says, and behind her you can hear the sounds of the bustling streets of Avonall, for all intents and purposes, the new capital of Elsewhere Rediscovered. While I was walking the streets, I bumped into this wonderful young lady, she says, and you hear a tut from the figure stood behind her. She's a curious one, a bit like you, and I thought that perhaps if you were to put your heads together, you might be able to crack those runes. And Tavarien steps to the side to reveal a brown grey skinned Terran sprite woman with a mohawk down her head. And the sprite steps in, looks around, and by the divine, she says as she looks around, my name's Galena Orpman. Sounds like you've got a bit of a riddle, she says.
Are you interested in crystals?
Oh, yes, says Galena. Where do we find Cavern?
Cavern is standing on a sort of dirt path, sort of near New Prosper, and looking up at Elysia, which is floating. He's also got a sort of like a large duffel bag, like a travel bag that he's got with him. And he is standing next to a Lorivar woman who's sort of about the same height as him. And it's almost like they are just parting ways at that time. And he is standing with his sister, who he was able to find through records. And both of them started looking for the rest of their family, but they have had no luck as of yet. But he has said that he wanted to return back to Elysia for a little while and see if he can find anyone that he remembers from back then, from a year ago.
News of Elysia's return has certainly kind of rippled through the expedition towns that have been founded, and perhaps for you all, it's quite surprising to see just how much ground has been covered over the past, 2 years when you first arrived, and all the progress that's been made since, as you discover that Elysia elsewhere is 3 years beyond the eschaton. And there are some who have some lost Elysians who were left behind have begun to return. But as you're stood with your sister, we missed you dearly, Catherine.
I missed you too.
She, you notice that she said it almost incidentally as she looks at what remains of the city that was off on the horizon as you were growing up as children. It's a good place as any to start, but I'm sure we'll find him. He's got a loud enough personality that won't be that hard to find in a crowd. I wanted you to know that once we do find Brother, I'm considering signing up to the Explorers. I feel that what they're doing is incredible, and if we can find Elysia, then we've got a pretty good shot of piecing the whole world back together, I reckon. And if you wanted to join me, I'm sure all three of us could go, but I appreciate if you want a little slice of home instead.
Yes, I made a new family while I was in Elysia, and that's hard to step away from after all we've been through. And maybe when I'm a little older, I'll join, but I've still got a lot of Now with the brand new world, I've got a lot more fun to have.
Your sister nods, and then maybe we can explore it together again.
I'd like that.
And she smiles as she looks back to the city before the two of you make your way to the nearby portal system to teleport to the floating city. Where was Magpie 1 year later?
I think Magpie is still in Elysia. I think she took a role in helping to clean up after 2 years in the void, and she's been helping to locate and reunite family that were outside of Elysia when the bubble sprung, when the Eschaton happened, and reuniting the sort of orphans and lost family members with each other, kind of helping to just re-establish some sense of order and around the city, and just helping out where she could. I think rather than trying to get back with her blood relatives, she's living with Samuel, I suspect. But I think now that a year has gone past, she's probably thinking that her role in rebuilding the city is coming towards an end, and she might be thinking about spreading her wings and leaving to explore some of this world that they've been reunited with.
In which case, as you float these ideas to Samuel, the two of you on this bench in Spire Park glance up at this enormous tree that over the past year has just exploded in size, fully encapsulating what was once, or overgrowing what was the ruins of the Ruby Keep. And now this beacon of life sits at the centre of Elysia, in stark contrast to all of the dark times that it had to endure before Elysia's return. Are you sure you want to leave? Samuel says to you. It's a big world out there. I mean, and they still don't know everything that's waiting for us. I mean, there's still all these expeditions going out, but haven't you had enough excitement for one lifetime?
Samuel, I spent the first, up until today, as I'm speaking to you now, on a path that I didn't want. I was confined, and now I've spent a year helping to re-establish the city so that it can be even a shadow of what it once was. I just want to get out there, and a lot of it remains unexplored, but there are still people in need in the parts that we know. It won't be forever. I'll be back. I need to live a little.
Samuel looks visibly kind of glum for a moment, and then he kind of rallies himself and gives you like he puts on a brave face as he smiles to you, and wherever you end up, just know that we'll be waiting for you here if you decide to come back. But you've done amazing things in this city, and if that's anything to go by, you're going to be amazing throughout elsewhere.
The only reason I can go in good conscience is because I know I'm leaving the city in such good hands.
He kind of looks away a bit bashful. And maybe you should go then before you inflate my head too much. And he sort of like takes his glasses off, cleans them, and as he places the spectacles back, he puts an arm around you and kind of pulls you in for a hug. You got this, kiddo, he says.
Thanks, Dad.
As he looks back up to the tree in the centre of Elysia. And where do we find Algernon?
So, Cadwallader Manor is now part of a complex of several buildings in the Ivory which have been refurbished, not for use as private homes, but as part of Cadwallader College. A new school not just for the public schoolboy, but for all the children of Elysia, especially the orphaned. And it doesn't just teach theology, but arcana, not just the history of Elysia, but the history and cultures of the entire world. On the campus is the new grove of the garden keepers Algernon has made good on his promise that the controlled burn would work in the end. And where Castle Antler once stood is now the ocean, the boating dock from which he oversees the rowing team, which isn't quite up to scratch, but one day he hopes might be a match for his beloved Morton School Sky Blues. And of course he is the co-headmaster alongside his elder sister, Devira Cadwallader.
In which case, as you stand in what used to be the welcome hall of Cadwallader Manor, and now the welcome hall of Cadwallader College, the silver white-haired Lorivar man stood alongside you, kind of takes in everything, and Archmagister Meridius Redan looks to you, and I'd have to say you've done a pretty good job not polishing this up. I've seen quite a few impressive things on this tour, but so I suppose all that's left to say is, if you're still open to the idea, I'm more than happy to invite Cadwallader College into the Magister's Circle. This could be one of the finest spots of academia teaching the arcane arts in a safe manner. It's a prestigious accolade, to be sure. The students of this place could be the pioneers to the rediscovery.
Algernon thinks about that very sincerely. And then he's distracted by an incredibly naughty and irritating schoolboy that is frequently sent to his office. And he shouts after him, "Fairfax! What did I tell you about running in the hallway?"
And I forgot what I did. You probably remember.
It's like O'Mel or something.
Yes, Fairfax's son, curious son, kind of looks to you and stops, looks a bit bashful, and "Sorry, sir," he says, as he then scampers away, giggling to rejoin his fellow schoolmates, college mates. And Meridius, he can't help but kind of smirk and chortle slightly as you chastise Fairfax's son. And then the mage turns to you, and I wouldn't expect an answer straight away. It is still a commitment from you for everything, so I'll leave it with you, but when you have the answer, feel free to visit us in Avonmore. Sometimes it's good to stretch your legs and see other impressive cities, perhaps ones that aren't as airborne as Elysia.
Quite. I think I'll take you up on that invitation. I'll have to run it past my co-headmaster.
Meridius nods and, well, if there's nothing else, I'll leave you to your business, he says.
Jolly boating weather, old boy.
Jolly boating weather indeed. Meridius smiles back, says back. And you watch as the Archmagister leaves via the front door and sort of like standing on the renovated streets of the Ivory, he kind of looks left and right, and then you see him conjure a spell and silvery blue runes open up, and he steps through the portal back into the bustling streets of Avermore.
Yes, because I want Fairfax to be able to learn that.
You hear a voice say, "That went well, brother."
Well, of course it did. I was in charge.
When you have a moment, there are a few new applications that have come through. Some of them seem promising.
There's promise in all people, I'm assured. Perhaps I'm going a little soft, but why not just approve them all? We've got the room.
She kind of raises her eyebrows as if to say, okay. But then she kind of nods and then, is it a bit chilly in here, she says. And then she looks up to the floating mana crystal overhead, and as she uses her now practiced crystal singing, the crystal overhead begins to glow slightly brighter, and you immediately feel this warmth, this greater warmth emanating from it. Much better.
Okay, show off.
And as she titters as she walks off, you glance out your periphery and you see Fairfax looking from around the corner and realising he's been caught.
And then I just very secretly turn the temperature back down to a more comfortable level.
Very, very good. So that's basically, from what I understand, that's basically where everyone's gotten to. But I'm pretty sure it's good timing actually that you're here, Frida. And as he says that, you hear the sounds of footsteps on the curving stairwell down into what was once a secret speakeasy and now is just a VIP only section of the Spectre. And Frida, as you turn to look, who is descending down the stairs?
Cavern is definitely descending down the stairs.
Yeah.
And as he sees Frida, a big smile grows on his face, and he comes on and he squeezes your muscle again and he goes, "It's good to see you."
If anything, they're a bit bigger.
Oh no, I felt it.
Bigger and bronzed.
Can we trust that Atta has been convinced by Tavarien to tear herself away from?
Atta appears dimension door, just in the corner of the room, smash, a bottle smasher.
Atta, what have I told you?
I got a letter. Frida's there. Hello, everyone.
And then from following behind Cavern, Magpie and Algernon. Okay. As the five of you emerge in the space in front of Eric's bar in the Spectre, he looks genuinely chuffed, and he kind of takes a big sigh and I've made sure to save you space on your table, he says, pointing to the corner, the half moon table with in the booth area. Why don't you all grab a seat and I'll bring you drinks over, he says.
Sounds grand.
And as the five of you slip in and Eric begins preparing your drinks, we will call it there.
Yay!
Elsewhere.
Oh no! Wait, what?
In elsewhere.
And the city gets dragged back into the void.
Nephinae disappeared, so we never know.
In a surprisingly quiet tavern, somewhere in the streets of Avonmore, the sounds of beautifully played violin floats through the air. It sounds enchanting, enthralling even, and it's a travesty that there are next to no patrons to hear the song, to hear it played. The door opens and a silhouette of a Lorivar woman steps through. And she stands out with her curious purple coat and hat. And as the bartender kind of looks in her direction, "Can I get you a..." She lifts a finger to shush him, and he freezes in spot. And Taro walks in up to the bard's stage in the centre of the drinking hall. Stood on the stage is a slender Lorivar person wearing a very curious leaf-like green ensemble, very much like a travelling bard's gear. But his skin is curiously golden, his blonde hair flowing down over his left shoulder, over their left shoulder. And they stop the violin as Taro freezes the bartender. "Come now," they say. "That's quite rude." And Taro smiles. "It's good to see you. You've been quite a stranger these past few years." And the figure on the stage kind of tuts and dramatically flicks her hair back and, "Come now, you know I don't like that title. Unless it's uttered by these lot," he says. They say, gesturing to the frozen bartender. "Have you been keeping well, Velasius?" Taro asks. And Velasius gives Taro a look. A knowing look. You're still quite smug with yourself with what you did with Elysia, aren't you? Velasius says, as they step down from the stage, and placing the violin in a case. "You can't rest on those laurels forever, you know, sister." And Taro shrugs. "I always love seeing what happens when they ask questions. And now, I've made them ask one of the most compelling questions since the eschaton. Do you know the lengths they're going to see if what the Elysians were saying was true? That they saw a Khan? Oh, and to think that they thought he was dead? Oh." And Velasius looks thoroughly unamused. "If you keep pushing them," they say, "they will rally against you. I hope you realise that. You can't twist that many strands of fate." And Taro smiles. "Oh, I know. That's why I'm going to find the others." Congratulations, everyone, on completing Elysia Rising. We have done it. We have concluded campaign 2
Hey.
And everyone is still in one piece.
Except Songbird.
Except Songbird.
I can't believe Velka came out of that after he set himself on fire, and just his general condition.
Yeah, he did roll.
And Songbird's the one that.
She was the wrong end out of both of them.
Yeah.
At least she redeemed herself.
We are done. You now, the five of you, after just over 2 years in captivity, have a whole unexplored world to explore.
Yay.
And I am very much looking forward to seeing if we see 5 familiar faces crop up in future Explorers of Elsewhere campaigns or side adventures or the like. So, because we've been going at this for quite some time, if you enjoyed any part of this campaign, make sure to hit the like button and comment down below on who you think of these 5 is going to get into trouble the quickest. And if you would like to see where the Explorers of Elsewhere setting goes next, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications of new releases, because I assure you there's going to be lots of them, and they're going to be coming thick and fast. And there might be a few familiar faces in Campaign 3. So, thank you all for playing. Thank you all for watching.
And thank you, Dan.
We will see you in the next adventure. Bye 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 bye.
Bye.